Welcome to Breaking Ties, a new you after divorce. This is your go-to source for practical advice and support for when the divorce process has finished. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll cover a variety of topics related to post-divorce. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of life after divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here's your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Welcome to the Breaking Ties interview series, where we talk with a professional who assists those getting through the divorce process and answers many of the questions you may have. Now, I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, and with me today is Erica Hagan. Erica is the founder of peacepost.io, a communication tool for challenging co-parenting dynamics. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, aren't all co-parenting dynamics challenging? Well, some more so than others. And we are going to look at a tool this week that's going to go through and potentially, give you a hand on some of that communication stuff. And we're going to get some great information over the course of the week. You're going to want to tune in every day because the questions and answers are going to be different. And I'd like to take this time to welcome Erica to the podcast. Welcome, Erica.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. How's your day going so far?
Oh, I'm just wonderful. It's beautiful. It's sunny. It's not so hot. Love it.
That's great. Now, for our listeners out there who don't know who you are, let's, share a little about yourself and your background.
All right. So my name is Erica Hagan. I am a mother of three, also went through the divorce process, so I understand how challenging it can be. But I've also been in technology for over the last 13 years. So looking for that cohesion between technology and humanity, and that's where we're at today.
Excellent. Yes, it's always good to know, if somebody's been through the divorce process or not, because it really does make a difference on the conversations that we have with people. Since you and I have both been through the process, it makes it a little bit more on the understanding side of how things go. Now, we have this peacepost.io, and we have this great tool. So I'm going to ask you to kind of explain what Peacepost is.
So peacepost.io is a chatbot that allows individuals to have some clarity into their situation. So what you're able to do is input written communication. It's able to then go through it, what we would call sentiment analysis, look at the words, look at the tonality, and basically read through to say, what is necessary to respond to and what isn't. And I think this is a very vital tool because as you're going through the divorce process, there can be a lot of emotion that goes into this, and you really want to focus on neutral, child-centric responses, especially if you're in a challenging co-parenting dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to focus on, the kids first kind of thing. And co-parenting definitely is challenging because let's face it, if you didn't necessarily get along while you were married, the odds that you get along after your divorce are not as great either. So I think we can all use a little help on how we communicate back and forth with our exes. So one of the things you bring up is communication, and I think that is a very challenging piece of the co-parenting part. Now, what is it about peacepost.io that allows us to communicate more effectively?
Absolutely. So for me, I've always been incredibly interested in the intersect between technology and how it can help humanity. So this tool is meant to do exactly that. It's meant to help you articulate in that neutral, child-centric way. So we're able to then read through what the information is and help you articulate. Or on the other end of things, if you were to have to communicate something challenging, say you need to relocate. Imagine how much time, energy, and anxiety would build trying to craft the perfect message, and you end up with a 2-page email. It doesn't need to be. So we're trying to simplify the process, reduce the stress, reduce the anxiety that goes along with that, and just make the communication process a lot smoother. So you can then take the output that you would get from Peacepost, then put it into your preferred means of communication, whether that be email, text message, or parenting app. So it's meant to work in like augment it and just be an additional tool.
Right. Oh man. Yeah. That's, just having that extra additional support to help you get through or even just get started on it, how you can present it would be a big help for many co-parents out there. So that is a great first day. How do you feel after the first run here?
Oh, wonderful.
I know it's always great to share information. I mean, it's the reason I started the podcast was really share information. And I am just so excited that you're on the show today because really this is a very cool tool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just day one, and we're going to wrap up day one here. I want everybody to join us tomorrow as we continue our discussion on communication and divorce. Eric and I would like to thank you for joining us today on Breaking Ties, the interview series. Should you have any questions for Erica, you can find her contact information in the description. And remember, divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And we will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Hello and welcome back to Breaking Ties, the interview series. We are on day 2 today. And in the interview series, we talk with a professional who assists those getting through the divorce process, whether it's beginning, during, or after. We're really looking to get those common questions answered that you may have. And today we have an excellent guest again with Erica Hagan, and she is the founder of PeacePost.io, which, if you're not familiar, is a communication tool for challenging co-parenting dynamics. And if you don't know what challenging co-parenting dynamics are, one, you're probably in a good space, and two, you need to go back to day one yesterday and learn what we mean by that, because this tool can really be super helpful for many people out there. And Erica is going to continue sharing great information as we move on into the podcast on day 2. Welcome back, Erica. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you again for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Yesterday was fantastic. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing the information that you have. And I was thinking about, kind of where we go next on this. And one of the things that I've heard you say in the past is this neutral child-centric communication. So I was interested in why is that important during and after divorce?
Absolutely. So when you get divorced with somebody, it's can be a lot of tension and a lot of pent up anger or sadness. And some of that can muddy the water. So what I wanted to do was create a tool that helps separate out what the emotion might be and keep the conversation moving, because you're still a parent at the end of the day. You still need to take care of your little ones. And so not getting to this high agitated state and just having a tool to support you through that, that's basically the background of PeacePost.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. And I think it's important to just reiterate kind of what you mean is, and a lot of it is kid centric. I mean, we are co-parenting, and when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, we want our kids to be well adjusted. And this whole divorce process just throws them into an upheaval. And if you and your co-parent are struggling mightily to communicate, the kids will pick up on that. And so PeacePost, really does play a nice role in that. And let's chat a little bit about how it helps reduce conflict in co-parenting situations. I mean, money is usually the root of a lot of discussions when it comes to a divorce and stuff. And then when you have kids involved, so now you've got financial matters relating to the children. So if you wouldn't mind kind of just going over what your thoughts are on those types of co-parenting situations.
Absolutely. Money can be a giant trigger, at least for a lot of conflicts. So for PeacePost, the goal would be to minimize aggressive words, minimize lengthy discussions, and keep it very simple. So if I were to needing to communicate with an ex, I would simply state the facts using PeacePost, would use it to only state the facts would then say what needs to be said and get out. So we want to keep it short, simple, and to the point. So sometimes it's we need to communicate, sometimes, or in person, I should say, and other times it would be something that only talks about the matters at hand and not drudging up other things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you and I both know from experience that, goodness, you don't want to open any other cans of worms that you don't have to open up, because you can go down just a black hole, and it's really, I think it's fair to say it's pretty unproductive a lot of times. And so when you have a tool like this where you put things in writing, even, because I think that's also kind of an important part of the tool as well, is it just helps you get things in writing. So that way, if stuff really does go south, you've got something to reflect back on and share, to go through, whether it's with the courts or an attorney or who mediator, whatever. You're able to then use that as information.
Absolutely. And that's utilizing best practices, especially when you're dealing with a challenging co-parenting dynamic. You want to make sure that everything is in writing. So whether you're doing it via text, email, parenting app, however, you want to make sure you're keeping great records and not letting emotions steer the conversation.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great piece of advice right there. So, well, this is fantastic. I appreciate that information you're sharing. This is great stuff. And believe it or not, this concludes day 2 of the interview. And I want to invite everybody to join us again tomorrow as we continue our discussion on communication and divorce. Eric and I would like to thank you for joining us today on the Breaking Ties interview series. Should you have any questions for her information is going to be in the description, and you can reach out to her. She'd be happy to answer your questions. And keep in mind that divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And with that, we will see you tomorrow for day 3 of the interview. Take care. Hello, and welcome back to day 3 of the Breaking Ties interview series, where we actually chat with a professional who assists those getting through the divorce process, whether it's the beginning, middle, or end. Because really, we got lots of questions, and we want to have those questions answered as they come along, kind of thing. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson. I am a financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And with me today is Erica Hagan. And Erica is the founder of PeacePost.io, which, for those who aren't familiar with the previous 2 days of our podcast, it's a communication tool for challenging co-parenting dynamics. And I'm going to say you're going to want to go back to the previous 2 days because they were really great information pieces, and on communicating with, say, a challenging ex-spouse. And really, we want to keep the kids in mind through this whole process, because that's, the most difficult aspect of co-parenting is making sure that the kids are taken care of. Welcome back, Erica, to day 3. Glad to have you on. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. And yourself?
Doing all right. The sun's out. I got to appreciate that. And so, and it's not raining because we've had some weather lately.
We have.
Now, getting back to PeacePost.io and how it helps people. And I found this next question that someone had asked pretty interesting. And that is, how might using PeacePost potentially reduce the need for legal intervention in co-parenting disputes?
Absolutely. So with PeacePost, we're trying to mitigate a lot of the really emotionally charged communication that can happen. And so if you're receiving a lot of messages from an ex-partner, a lot of times you want to share with your support network and sometimes even your attorney, and that can add up quickly. So for us, when we created PeacePost, we recognize this is a tool that you may need ongoing. So what we have is it priced as a monthly, as you go, as you need it, but it's priced that it equates to 1 year is the equivalent of 1 legal hour. So we want to make sure we're conscientious of people's, wallets, because this can be a very challenging time as you're acclimating, finances have changed, but also reduce the cost overall.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a big thing, because you don't really want to spend any more money than you have to. And attorneys' billable hours are fairly pricey, and it doesn't take long to get up there. So anything you can do to help reduce the cost, I think, is fantastic. And the other piece of that, I think, is with this Peace Post, from what I've learned, is that just having it there to shortcut the communication with your ex will also reduce the amount of interactions you have, which then also probably reduces the stress and tension and the lack or need for legal intervention along those lines as well. I think that's probably a fair point.
Absolutely. So with Peace Post, it's not going to be meant for everyone. Peace Post is a tool that really supports people that are dealing with very hostile, challenging situations where you might be getting toxic messages, long, lengthy responses. And so for those people that communicate well, that's beautiful. We're not the product for you. We're the product that things get muddy quickly. So what we're trying to diffuse and add, basically reduce what the kerosene would be. So it's going to be the neutral, child-centric responses, and it's really meant to mitigate the fights, mitigate all of that. So that's where it equates to lower legal bills, lower anxiety, and lower stress.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. That's great. Now, one of the other interesting things that we had touched on in a previous episode that I think is worth exploring, and that is, how does Peace Post help parents separate, say, their emotional responses from their communication about child-related issues?
Absolutely. So the backbone of Peace Post is utilizing a technique called Gray Rock method. And so with Gray Rock method, you are basically responding in a neutral, bland way. So think of a gray rock. It's you're talking to the rock, you're smoothing it out. So for that, we only want to answer the items that are necessary. So what are being asked? The items that are only related to the children, and basically shutting down any unnecessary conversations. So we're mitigating a lot of the other challenges and other things that could be brought in and muddy the water.
Right. And yeah, as we've talked about in previous episodes, if our listeners haven't listened to those, they really want to go back and listen to those, where, part of this is just keeping things trim and neat and as clean as possible, so we can keep the focus on whatever the issue is, as opposed to throwing out a wide net. And the next thing you know, you're arguing about something that doesn't even have to relate to where you started the conversation.
Exactly.
Well, all right. We have another day in the books here. This is going to conclude our third day of the 5-day interview series. And if you haven't caught the first 2 episodes, I encourage you to go back and take a look at those, because Erica shared some really cool information on a challenging and difficult topic. And so I think it's well worth your time to go ahead and listen to those previous episodes. With that, Erica and I would like to thank you for joining us today on the Breaking Ties interview series. Should you have any questions for her, her information is going to be in the description. So go ahead and look her up, reach out to her, and she's happy to help. And as always, divorce is not the end of your story. As Erica and I know, it is the start of your next great chapter. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Bye.
Hi, and welcome back to the Breaking Ties interview series. We are on day 4 of the series, and we are with Erica Hagan, who is the founder of Peace Post IO, which is a communication tool for challenging co-parenting dynamics. I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor, certified divorce financial analyst, and let's go ahead and bring Erica into the show. Welcome to the podcast, Erica. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing all right again. So, just making it through the week here. I mean, day 4 means, Friday's that much closer, huh?
Mm-hmm. It sure is.
All right. So for our listeners, we've done this the 3 previous days, and that's been some really great information, especially if you have a difficult co-parenting arrangement. And so you're really going to want to go back and listen to these other episodes and catch up. as we go. And then tomorrow will be our final episode of the show. So you're going to want to catch that one as well, because Erica has been sharing some amazing information on how this tool really works and who it's good for. And we're going to continue that discussion today because really it's, not for everyone, as Erica has said in the previous episode, but let's find out, how we can get more people involved in this. And when I think about that, I'm thinking more like financial advisors, attorneys, accountants, divorce coaches. I mean, anyone who works with people throughout the divorce process. So, how do couples benefit, from this? And then how do the professionals benefit from recommending the Peace Post to their clients?
Absolutely. I remember the first time we met, Mike, it was, we were able to have a conversation, and you talk about how in your own interactions with your clients, you work to empathize with their situation, you work to help them through the process. It's not just about finances. So when we talk about business professionals, if your client's constantly stressed, agitated, either they received messages or they have to compose something, anything we can do to lighten the load is going to be instrumental in their success and give them the clarity to move forward without, all of this additional stress and aggravation.
Yeah, exactly. And, that is always one of the things I keep in mind when I work with divorced individuals or going through the process. And that, really is how to make things a little smoother for them than perhaps I had it or other people have had it. And, using all those experiences to help them get through the process. So, if another professional wants to refer their clients to it, is it just as simple as sending them to the website?
Absolutely. So it would just be as simple as go to peacepost.io. You're able to then sign up for a 7-day trial. After that, it's a month by month, and it's a cancel at any time. But we understand with Peace Post, it's either it ebbs and it flows. Sometimes you have a lot of communication, sometimes you have none. So we recognize it's not a one size fits all. We want to work with our clients to understand what their needs are and support them as they go.
Right, exactly. And that actually, is a pretty good model because like you said, at some point in time, hopefully they
Mhm.
don't need your product anymore. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be the best of everything.
absolutely. That is really the goal for us to quote unquote graduate. So one of the things that Peace Post does, and we don't necessarily market it as such, but it acts as a training tool. So once you input enough information, you start to see the pattern. How does it do that? So then you start to learn along the way ways that this could help you in your journey. So okay, what's relevant? What's not? What do I ignore? How does it only focus on the communication or the dialogue at hand? So we can talk about co-parenting, but you can imagine how this segments into other parts of your life, whether it be co-workers, neighbors. So, the opportunities are endless, but you get into that mindset. So it's more than just like, hey, I need to work with my co-parent. It touches on so many different applications in life.
Yeah, and you know what? One of the big things once the divorce is final is really personal growth.
Mhm.
On your own behalf and getting back to finding who you are. And you are going to deal with difficult people in other spaces and stuff. And so to have a tool like this that really does go across, it's not just divorce related. That's a good key component because that causes people a lot of stress and stuff. But really, this tool will help you communicate with many different types of, say, difficult or challenging conversations you might have.
Exactly. And so for us, we recognize, once you get into that mindset, once you're able to get to a healing state. So Peace Post is a communication tool, but we're just a tool. You should have an arsenal that supports you. So whether that be therapists, coaches, advisors, your legal team, we're just a tool, but you should have a whole arsenal at your hands.
Right, exactly. Your divorce team and your support network of friends, family, and other people who really will keep you going and help you through the process. Because, as I say, you could have the easiest divorce on the planet, but the process is just brutal, and so it's just going to really take a toll on you. And you got to have people to lean on, whether they're professionals or their friends and family. And with that, that really wraps up day 4. I mean, that was solid. I like that. That was great stuff, Erica. Thank you for sharing. And really, we're coming down to the wire. And so tomorrow's our last day. Like I said earlier in the podcast, if our listeners haven't listened to the previous 3 days, you're really going to want to. There's some great information that Erica has shared on the Peace Post IO, and also just life and things that this tool helps with along the way. We would like to thank you for joining us today on Breaking Ties, the interview series. Should you have any questions for Erica, her information is over in the description, so reach out. She'll be happy to help you. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Hello, and welcome back to the 5th and final day of the week-long Breaking Ties interview series, where we talk with a professional who assists those getting through the divorce process. Whether you're at the beginning, the middle, or the end, we're going to answer many of the common questions that you probably have. And today, I'm still your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And with me is Erica Hagan once again. And she has been a real great interviewee the entire week. I mean, I have learned so much. And she is the founder of peacepost.io, which is a communication tool for challenging co-parenting dynamics. And I'm going to refer you back to day 1 if you want to learn about what are those challenging co-parenting dynamics and really go through what this tool is all about. So we're going to get some last day great information. And welcome back to the podcast, Erica.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, well, actually, the pleasure's all ours. This is, like I said, one of the great things about hosting the podcast is the people I get to chat and interact with and the stuff I get to learn. I mean, I never would have dreamed that you could have come up with something like this for challenging co-parenting times and how to help people. I mean, this is unbelievable. And so when, part of the unbelievable part is a lot of times we have a co-parent who's more confrontational than the other. So how does Peace Post help in that situation from the whole co-parenting dynamics setup?
Absolutely. So there are instances when you have somebody that's either aggressive in their tonality, sending really harsh messages or emails, and it can be very triggering. You feel your body seize up, you feel anxious, and you have to respond, especially if there's children involved. So you take all of those feelings and, sometimes that can turn into words. So utilizing Peace Post can help mitigate that. So I want to make one thing clear. Peace Post is a tool that only one parent needs to use. You don't need both parents to use it. So think of it as kind of like a word check. So you're able to, if I were to get a very lengthy, challenging message, I could copy it, put it into the platform, and then get a neutral child-centric response. So I would also prompt it to say, I need to respond to this. This is what I want to say. And so it's definitely something that helps calm this, the situation, what would be very tense and potentially very long and ongoing. By doing neutral child-centric responses, we're trying to mitigate additional confrontation and friction.
Right. And that is huge because really the goal is to diffuse the other co-parent as opposed to continuously sparking something because you said some trigger word that you're not even familiar with. So I think, the whole Peace Post part is really good from like you said in a previous episode, just a learning, personal growth and development. And people being able to then understand themselves a little more, so
Mhm.
that a way they can reduce the friction, or at least whatever you can control on your end, because you really can't control the other individual.
No, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head. So we are a tool in your arsenal. So you're going to have your support group, you're going to have your legal team, you can potentially have therapists or coaches or advisors. But for us, we're just a tool to support you through this time. And so if we can reduce one of the points of failure, which is a lot of times communication, that's what we're here for. It's what we're here to support you with, and also give you the strength and the courage to respond confidently.
Yeah, and that's great, because you can never really have too much support throughout the divorce process. And a lot of people think it ends at the final decree, but really, if you have kids, it doesn't end for quite some time usually. So that's all the questions I have, but I want to get kind of your final thoughts and maybe a piece of advice that you'd like to share with the listeners.
Absolutely. With Peace Post, again, we're a tool, but this is a opportunity for a lot of personal growth. And so you don't need to let a divorce define you and your life moving forward. So we just want to give you the tools that you can free yourself, free your mind, and begin to live the life you're meant to lead. So we thank everyone for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, Mike. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, no, you've been a fantastic guest. Like I said, I like to share information on good stuff, good people, good tools, and yours is right at the top of the list for many relationships, co-parenting relationships that are just, they're not great. And so it's important to know that, hey, there is pieces out there that can help and such. So this, unfortunately, is going to end our week-long series. This is day 5. We have made it, Erica.
We sure did.
Oh, goodness. And for our listeners, if you haven't listened to the previous 4 episodes, you're going to want to go back and listen to those as well, because Erica each day shared some new information regarding communication and Peace Post on how it can help and help streamline things for you and make things potentially a little smoother. Hopefully, that's kind of the goal with regards to anytime we help individuals during, before, or after the divorce process. So day 5 in the books. The week is done. Should you have any questions for Erica, she's always happy to help. Don't hesitate to reach out. Her information is going to be in the description. And divorce is not the end of your story. As Erica and I know and have been through, it is the start of your next great chapter. And with that, have yourself a fantastic day. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.